This is Mike from Scale Trains again, and we're here to talk about our latest rolling stock announcement. While most manufacturers typically announce one style of car for a particular commodity, we decided to shake things up a bit and talk about a theme. That theme is carbon black. Carbon black is a material that's used in the production of rubber components, plastics, and tires. It's always hauled in covered hoppers, and so what we decided to do is we decided to introduce 3 distinctive styles of carbon black covered hopper cars. So the 3 that we've got to show you today is a 1970s era 5750 cubic foot Thrall built car. What's distinctive about this is the roof line, where it changes towards the end of the car, and there's a couple of missing ribs on this car. The second car is a 1980s era Thrall 5750 cubic foot car. The distinctive parts about this are the ribs that continue the entire length of the car. The roof line also does the same. It's the same on the entire length of the car. The third version is a more modern car. This is a 4727 cubic foot Thrall car. It has the high side sills and a different roof contour. Now that we've introduced you to these cars, let's take a closer look.
Here with the A end of the car, we find that there's very little going on here, again, because of the fact that the majority of all the brake stuff is happening on the trucks. The end cage, while there's a lot of detail, ribbing and support work and such, no brake detail to speak of at this end, but we do have that nice die-cast lower shelf coupler, and again the coupler cut bar, air lines, separately applied ladders and grab irons as well, and a photo etched coupler walkover. In this view, you can see the B end of the 4727 cubic foot carbon black car. Some interesting features are the fact that these use the lower shelf die-cast coupler. This will be new for this car. This will be the first time that Scale Trains has offered this, but we will be using it on future projects as needed. This car also has separate air lines, coupler cut bars, brake wheels, ladders, railings, and such. Also, you can see the roof line is a little bit different shape than the previous cars, and again, the ribs run from one end of the car to the other as opposed to across. Multiple hatches on the roof, and those are available in a couple different versions depending on the prototype again. So not much detail inside the cage. Again, all the brake hardware is underneath. These cars also use truck mounted brakes like the 5750s, so you don't have a separate brake cylinder. The brake cylinders are actually on the trucks, so there's minimal amount of underbody detail as well. In these next couple of images, we'll get to see some of the finer details of the 4727, such as roof walks and hatches on the roof. Also, a close-up of the Barber S2 70-ton truck with rotating bearing caps. Also notice the train airline, the die-cast coupler, lower shelf style, and the draft gear detail. And also underbody detail, such as the air reservoir and triple valve and plumbing for such. This is the left side of our 4727 cubic foot carbon black covered hopper. This is a distinctively different car than the 5750. Obviously the cube capacity is less, but this has got more of a traditional covered hopper look with the slope sheets and the high hip side where more of the bays are obvious. In this left side view, you can see again sampling spigots, which are typical of carbon black cars, the outlets, the air reservoir, triple valve, and the airline on the underside of the side sill. These ride on a Barber S2 70-ton truck, so that is different than the 5750s. Has the multiple hatches on the roof, but a smooth style roof with longitudinal ribs on it as opposed to ones that go across. Still has the Morton style roof walk, photo etched, and so some similarities to the earlier 5750 cars, but still very unique. In this right hand view of the carbon black 4727 covered hopper, you can see that the details are very similar to the left side. Sampling spigots on the side, sparse underbody detail because of the fact that all the brake rigging is actually in the trucks, but there are handles on the outlets. You'll also notice the very obvious jack pads and roping eyes right at the bolster. Separately applied side ladders and stirrups with support brackets that tie back into the end frames. Again, the Morton roof walk and multiple roof hatches and vents on the roof as well. This is the A end of our late 70s era 5750 cubic foot carbon black covered hopper. Again, very similar to the B end. You see the separately applied ladder, coupler walkover platforms, train line hose, coupler cut bar, and die-cast coupler. There's also another valve on this end for the air bladder unloading system. You'll also notice a 28 hatch roof. Again, this is specific to Sid Richardson cars and a few others. You'll also notice the sharp printing on this end of the car as well. In this image, you'll see the B end of our 1970s era 5750 carbon black covered hopper. The roof transition is very obvious here. You'll notice that the end panels have a single angle while the center panels have a double angle on the roof line. You can also see our photo etched roof walk, separately applied end ladders, coupler walkover platform, brake wheel, and the relief valve for the airbag unloading system, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There's also separately applied airline and also coupler cut bar, and these cars are equipped with our die-cast Type E coupler. And here are a couple more images of the roof where you can see the fine detail of the hatches and the roof walk, and again you can see the transition of the roof line. This next image shows a close-up of our ASF ride control 70-ton truck. You'll notice the fine spring detail, bearing caps again which rotate. All the foundry data is also on the truck frames. In this image we see the left side of our late 70s era Thrall 5750 cubic foot carbon black covered hopper. Some unique features about this car: the Sid Richardson version has a 28 hatch roof, which is unique to the Sid Richardson and only a few others, most have less. The 1970s era car also has two large panels missing ribs, where the later cars have continuous ribs all the way down the side of the car. You can see the separately applied side ladders. You'll also notice the three sampling spigots on this side of the car, numbered 4, 5, and 6. There's 3 on the opposite side, numbered 1, 2, and 3. You'll also notice down at the side sill a train line, which runs along the side sill on this side of the car. You'll also see the air reservoir and triple valve. These cars have truck-mounted brakes, which means that there's brake cylinders mounted on the trucks as opposed to having a single brake cylinder and a bunch of linkage. So these cars do not have all the standard brake linkage for a conventional body brake car, though you'll see extra plumbing, which runs the air lines to the trucks and the brake cylinders. The trucks are a 70-ton ASF ride control with rotating bearing caps. In this image, we see the right side of our late 70s era carbon black covered hopper. You'll see down along the side sill, you're going to see what is called the flater line. The flater line is part of the system for the unloading of these cars. These cars use an air bladder system, basically two large airbags that are inside the car, and they are inflated to help move the carbon black out of the car. Because it's such a very light material, it doesn't flow very well, and so what they would do is they would open the hatches on the roof and the outlets on the bottom, and then they would slowly pressurize these bags, and they would inflate similar to an airbag in an automobile until it helped to push all of the material out of the car. Again, on this side you'll see also the handles for the outlets on the bottom of the car for each outlet. You'll see again separately applied ladders, roof walk, hatches, and again the interesting pattern with the missing ribs on the side of the car. This is the A end of the 1980s era 5750 carbon black covered hopper. Much like the B end, you'll see the flater line and the relief valve for the airbag unloading system. There's separately applied ladders, coupler walkover platform, handrail, coupler cut bar, train line hose. This version also uses the die-cast Type E coupler as well. You can also in this view see the roof line, and notice that the contour is continuous on this body variant. You'll also notice the roof walk and the many hatches on the roof of the car. This is the B end of the 1980s era 5750 carbon black covered hopper. One feature that distinguishes this car from the 1970s era is the flater line. That's that long tube that runs from the coupler walkover platform up to the center of the car. That's what's used to pressurize the airbags that are used for the unloading. In the 70s era car, that was done from underneath the car and not visible from the end. In the 80s era car, they changed the routing of this plumbing, and so that's why it's visible on this end of the car. Also, you'll see the separately applied ladders, brake wheel, coupler cut bar, train line hose, walkover platform, and handrail. Those are just some of the details on this end of the car. In this series of images, you get to see a little bit closer some of the fine details and decoration on the 1980s era 5750 carbon black covered hopper. Details such as the printing, the flater lines and relief valves, trucks, and underbody detail such as retainer valves, outlets, air reservoir, triple valve, and rooftop details such as the fine etched photo etched roof walk and roof hatches. JMHX 57540 is a representative of the 1980s era Thrall 5750 carbon black car. Things that distinguish this from the 70s era car is the continuous contoured roof line, meaning that the entire roof is all the same contour from one end of the car to the other. Also, it has continuous ribs down the side. There's also separate side ladders. The sampling spigots are there as well. Down along the side sill, you'll see the train line, air reservoir, triple valve, and like the 1970s era car, this car also has truck brakes, and so there's no brake cylinder visible on the underbody. There is extra plumbing for the brakes. This is the right side of JMHX 57540. You'll see the separately applied ladders on this side as well, stirrup steps. You'll also see the flater line running along the side sill, and that is part of the airbag unloading system that's used on these cars. You can also see the nice detail on the outlets, the retainer valve line, the crossover for the flater line, sampling spigots, and the fine details on the trucks, and the roping eyes at the bolsters as well.
Now that you've seen the great details on our carbon black covered hoppers, we hope you're as excited about them as we are. For more information, you can follow us on Facebook, or you can check out our webpage at www.scaletrains.com. Thanks for watching.